Hi YouTube and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my September wrap-up. I'm very proud of myself. I read 12 books again, which these are like astronomical months for me. Usually I only read about 6 books a month, and so that's why I did my reading goal for the year of 50 books. Last year I read 35, so this year I wanted to up that goal and read 50, and I've actually already surpassed that goal. This month I hit that goal, and I think I'm at 52 books. I think 52, 53, but let's get started into the video. The first 5 books that I want to talk about, I already made a video about. They were the Reading Outside My Comfort Zone series that I've started on my channel, and the first episode, the first installment of that was science fiction, and I read 5. I only have 4 because I read one on audiobook, but I read 5 science fiction novels. I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline, and I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. I made an entire video about that, so I will link it down below. Please make sure to go check it out. I really enjoyed making the video. I did not enjoy all of the books that I just listed, but all my thoughts and comments are down below in that video, so please go check it out. The first book I want to talk about is Fetch: How a Bad Dog Brought Me Home by Nicole J. Georges. This book is a memoir graphic novel. I love memoir graphic novels. Lucy Kingsley is my favorite author, one of my favorite authors, and I think she's just fantastic, and so I really enjoy graphic novel memoirs. I think they're really interesting, so you can not only hear about the person's life, but you can see it. You know, they do their best to draw out what actually happened, and I was really interested in getting into this book, and it was just, overall, it was just really disappointing. So I downloaded this off Hoopla, which I found recently. I didn't know that Hoopla was a thing, but Hoopla is an app that you can download, and it connects to your library. Now, some libraries use different apps, but my specific library in Jacksonville, they use Hoopla, and so you can download audiobooks, ebooks, and I think DVDs as well from Hoopla, and you can borrow them just like you would a library book, but obviously it's through your laptop or it's through your phone, anything like that. So I got Fetch off of Hoopla because my library didn't have it in a physical copy. I prefer a physical copy of a book, but they only had it in ebook, and I really wanted to read it, and so I read it. The first thing I really just didn't like about it is that the whole book is in black and white, which shouldn't really affect it, but for me it just added to the feelings that I was already feeling about the story. And this is really bad in my opinion to talk about, because as a memoir it's this author's life, so do I have the right to, rate somebody's life? I'm not sure, but I'm just going to tell you how I felt about the book. The story is Nicole J. Georges, when she was 16 or 17, she had a boyfriend at the time, and his dog had passed away, and she wanted to get him a new dog, and she got the permission from his mother, that she could get this dog for him for Christmas. She ends up getting the dog, and then his stepfather steps in and says, absolutely not, we're not getting this dog, he can't stay here. So Nicole's already adopted him, so she's trying to take him into her own home. Her parents are like, absolutely not. So her and her boyfriend decide at 17 that they're going to move out on their own because neither one of their families will take in this dog. But then it just goes throughout her life, and as this puppy grows up, she grows up with him. She does end up breaking up with the boyfriend. The puppy remains hers, and the puppy is seen as a bad dog. He bites, he growls, he doesn't like children, he doesn't like loud noises, and so she's kind of trying to find a way around this dog, and it was just sad. I mean, the whole book was sad. There was really not a happy point in the book. Like, even the point where she became successful as a comic book artist and she's writing her books, it's still melancholy because she's talking about how the dog doesn't fit in anywhere, and then once the dog is happy, then she's not happy, and then when she's happy, the dog's not happy. At the end of the book, it's through the end of the dog's life, and so the ending is very sad. My dog just passed away, and he was a very good dog. This was before, I read this before he had passed away, but I understand that. I relate, leaps and bounds. I relate to that. Losing a loved one, losing a dog, or losing an animal is, heartbreaking. And I completely understood that. For me, it's just the entire book was sad. There was not a happy point in the book at all. There wasn't a point where the dog had found happiness in the house they were living in. It just wasn't a happy book. And so for me, I was like, whoa, books affect my feelings a lot, and so it just made me so sad. And for me, it just wasn't the right time to read the book, but it just wasn't for me. So I ended up giving it 2 stars, which, again, like I said before, do I get the right to rate somebody's memoir? No, but how it made me feel, it just made me feel sad, and I don't always look to books to make me feel sad, and so that's why I ended up giving it 2 stars. The next book I read in September is Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, Volume 1 by Bryan Lee O'Malley. This book is the book that based the movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I have not seen that movie, so I have no idea how it relates to the book. I did consult with one of my friends that, how this is what happened in this comic book. Is this what's similar? He did say it was very similar to the movie, and he said it's supposed to be a comedy, which it is. In my opinion, this book was definitely funny. The comic book is in black and white, which I guess I'm learning is just not for me. I like comics in color. I thought it was really funny. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I don't really have a need to go on with the series. I think, it was fine. I read it in one sitting. It's an easy read. But it was just okay. The next book I read in the month of September is Brazen, Rebel Ladies Who Rocked the World by Penelope Bagieu. This was another graphic novel, and I guess you could say it's another graphic novel memoir, which, are apparently just my things. This book is about 29 ladies who at their period in time, they were doing things that just wasn't against the norm, wasn't society normal, or wasn't normal in society, and they essentially changed the world with their actions. So for example, the first one is about a woman who grew a beard, and she always shaved it, but she always liked her beard, and so she decided that she was going to keep her beard and open a tavern, and of course that was against society, but she was really loved by all. There's other ones about athletes, singer-songwriters, journalists, rock stars, volcanologists, lawyers, gynecologists. These are in color, which I like. I like comic books in color, as we can see. But what's really cool is what they'll do is she'll have the comic book in like a certain color scheme. She'll have the one story in a certain color scheme, and at the end she'll do a full page illustration with that woman in it. So right here is the bearded lady. The next one is about an African queen, which you can see right here. I mean, these are really gorgeous. She really did a fantastic job with these. I really like them all. What I really enjoyed at the end was she did her own memoir of her autobiography. So Penelope did, in the style of all the other ladies, she did one of herself, and I really enjoyed it. It's at the back of the book, and it's right here. What I really like is that she talks about her being like an angsty teen, and like what she was like. All she wanted to do was listen to rock music, play her Super Nintendo, and draw illustrations. And it's her in a Green Day sweatshirt, and I love Green Day. They're my favorite band, so I was, she's after my own heart. And so I really enjoyed this book. I originally read it because I thought I could recommend it to my 8-year-old cousin. She's a really great reader, but there are some things and some topics in here that I really don't want to get into yet, or maybe, you know, my aunt can decide to get into that with her, but I think this is more of a teenager or adult. You know, I don't think children should be reading this, but it's really good. This is actually in a naked hardback, which is really cool. I don't really like dust jackets, so this was really nice. I just thought it was really great. I give it 4 stars. I didn't agree with some of the women portrayed. There's 2 women who were, I think they were both queens, and they basically killed to get to the top, and I don't think that I personally don't think that that's a role model that we should be pushing out to women, that, you know, we should kill to get what we want. I don't think we should idolize the women that kill to get to the top. But other than those 2 stories, I really enjoyed this whole book. I thought it was really good. I know there's other books by different people that have the same kind of thing, like 50 women in history, and I think that's really cool. I want to definitely look into them. I didn't know, I think I maybe knew like 2 or 3 out of like 29. I didn't know about any of these women, so I definitely learned a lot. So overall, really recommend it. Just be a little cautious, I guess, of certain things, but I really liked it, and 4 stars. The next book I read in the month of September is Fresh Ink, an anthology edited by Lamar, Giles. It's 12 young adult authors came together and submitted short stories. It's 10 short stories, a 1-act play, and a graphic novel. In this little book, it's only, I think, like a little less than 200 pages. So this was recommended to me on the basis that I read Meet Cute, which is also a short story collection, also written by young adult authors. So that makes sense. I see the correlation. Meet Cute was about meet cutes where it's just that first instant of, you know, love at first sight, meeting somebody by chance. It was very cute, but of course none of the stories had endings. It was just about the specific meeting. You got to figure out whatever the story was. This was the same. None of these stories had endings. You didn't know what was going to happen next. It's up to you to figure it out from there. And there were some meet cutes in there. There is a story literally titled The Meet Cute. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I didn't think anything bad about it. I just, you know, it's fine. I didn't jive with every single one of the stories, but overall, it was fine. The next book I read in the month of September is Barred to You by Sylvia Day. This is an erotica. I'm very open-minded about sex, and so I don't mind reading eroticas. I read 50 Shades of Grey when I was 14. I really don't mind talking about sex, so that's why I wanted to read Barred to You. Now, this came out 2 years after 50 Shades of Grey, and it's compared so much to it, and so that kind of put me in a mindset which it shouldn't have. But I went into it, so it is very similar to 50 Shades. It's got the billionaire, it's got the dominance, it's got the focus on a clothing item. You know, with 50 Shades it's a gray tie, and with this it's these cufflinks. This book was good. I liked the story better than 50 Shades. I think that the character development was really well done. These characters had problems. You have things to explore that I feel like in 50 Shades we have, you know, him to explore, but she's really like this, you know, cute little princess, and so for me, they were both damaged and they both had stuff to explore. Now, this is book 1 out of 5. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue the 5 books because I don't really like series, but I thought this was fine. I give it 4 stars. There is a couple problems I had in this book, and I feel like with eroticas everybody's going to have some type of problem with it because they have opinions on how things should have gone, and I am one of those. So the first thing is that when he meets her, you know, she's just starting as an assistant and he is the owner of the company. She's not his assistant, she's somebody else's assistant, but he's the owner of the company that she works for. And he basically walks her to the elevator and is like, let's go, I wanna, you know, sleep with you. And it's really aggressive. And he's basically like, you can't take no for an answer. And she's like, I'm not about that life. And it's very aggressive. Now, because of the way this book is, where he's the dominant and she's supposed to be the submissive type, I kind of got past that really quickly. It's just something that I was just like, that's, you know, a little touchy, that's a little much, but okay. The second problem I had with it, which is again is in my mind a minor problem, but the sex scenes were really great. I mean, they were good. I liked them. I thought they were fantastic. Up until it got to the point where we started digging deeper into the characters, and basically the girl, Eva, in this book, she runs whenever there's a problem. She's a flighter, you know, she's a flyer, she's not a fighter, and so she basically runs, and so their solution to this is to have sex every time they're upset. Not with each other, but with each other. They're not communicating properly, they're so hurt by something that they just have sex. And so the last, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 sex scenes were just depressing because they were just sad. But it's like, how can that be sexy? I don't know. It was interesting. So that was, to me, another minor problem. It was good until it wasn't good. The biggest problem I have with this book, and this might be a me thing, but I really like this book. However, we get to the point where we've noticed, I mean, if anybody has eyes, you can notice that Gideon Cross is the dominant in this scenario, and Eva is the submissive. They have a dom-submissive relationship. Anybody can see that. Anybody who is into the BDSM world or, you know, slightly familiar would know that. It was very clear from like page 1. It was clear. But about, you know, 2/3 away through the book, he says it out loud. Gideon says, "You're a submissive." And she's like, absolutely not. She's in complete denial and takes offense to it, which I find baffling. And then she goes far enough to describe that one of the girls in her group therapy was talking about her being a submissive and her being that her master could use her at any time. Okay, Sylvia Day should have done her fucking research, because master is the term for a slave master situation, not a dom sub situation. And if she has so much disgust in the slave master situation, she obviously doesn't know that as a slave you would have so many discussions with your master that you would be okay with whatever he or she tried to do to you. So because that's the point of a master-slave relationship. The slave has full rights to say no and get out of that relationship at any time, but they sign up knowing that that's what the point is. A dom-sub relationship, a sub can say no at any time, and so the fact that, like, she's like, I am definitely not a sub, I don't want my right to say no taken away, like, that's not how it works. So really fucking pissed me off that, like, that misuse of word, and I think it continues the stigma against the BDSM community and the ignorance, that the fact that she wrote a whole book and a whole section on a submissive and she didn't do her fucking research. Ooh, I was irritated. And so that's really the biggest problem I had with it. It's probably not something that would deter me from continuing the series, but that I had to take a step back. I was like truly offended, and I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. But overall, I did give this book 4 stars. I probably would recommend, if you liked 50 Shades of Grey, you're probably going to like this. It was a little more character development. The sex scenes were better. I mean, it's got unrealistic sex. She orgasms at the touch of anything. I mean, he breathes one way and she freaking orgasms. So it's not really like realistic sex. It was fine. It was good. I give it 4 stars. Up to your discretion if that's something you want to read. The second to last book I read in the month of September is A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. This is an adult romance, and it's about a grad student in America who keeps getting contacted by this assistant to a royal king saying that she is his betrothed, but they need all this information to confirm her identity. She obviously thinks it's a scam, and she says absolutely not and deletes the email. Comes to the point where the prince himself decides to come to New York and meet her. He then pretends to be not royal and pretend to be somebody he's not to try to win her heart. It's a cute romance. I think it's funny. I thought it was really funny. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, but I didn't think it was like the most mind-blowing romance I've ever read in my life. It's cute. There are a couple sex scenes in it, but overall I thought it was okay. I know this is number 1 in a series, but I'm pretty sure the second one is about her, like it's about a side character, and that doesn't really like jive that I want to continue the series, but I thought it was okay. Like I said, it was really funny, and it's okay. The only thing is I didn't like that my library only had the mass market paperback of this. I don't like mass market paperbacks, but other than that, 3 stars. It was fine. And the last book I read in the month of September, I say read because I'm currently reading this book, but I'm so close that I'm probably going to finish it tonight. It is the Bookshop book by Jen Campbell. This will be the 3rd Jen Campbell that I've read. Jen Campbell is a YouTuber here on BookTube. This is basically a nonfiction about interesting and quirky bookshops across the world, and I think they're really cool. I mean, there's bookshops on a boat, on a donkey. You know, donkey rides around and like delivers books, in abandoned factories, in schools, and you know, there's lots of different bookshops. I think it was interesting. It does also come with pictures, which I really enjoy, because you get to kind of see what she's describing in the book. It does have a good range. I mean, it does go all over the world. There's obviously a lot of focus in the UK because she is based in the UK, so there is a lot of there's a huge section in the UK, and then there's, you know, minor sections in the other countries, and there's a larger section in the US. To me, I personally would have wanted more diversity, I guess I would say, but I'd probably give this book 4 stars. It wasn't, you know, the best book I've ever read in my life, but it was pretty good. So overall, yeah, it was fine, and I'll probably finish it tonight. Okay. We'll finish this outro and then I can go. So quit blinking at me. That was all the books I read in September. I will be publishing my October TBR. Probably will be on my channel tomorrow. I've already filmed it, but I think it's going to go up after this one. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe as well down below. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Hi YouTube and welcome. Oh, yes. Oh my god. Anyways, let's do that again. I'm hot. I just did my hair, and now my body is hot. Brazen, rebel ladies who walked the world.